Okay, I'm doing a short video right now on a problem that a lot of us run into regularly with these M151s, and that is the Captivated nuts that bolt down the transmission cover. This is the transmission cover that's inside the vehicle cockpit. You can see it right here, the openings on it. It turns up on its side and bolts down, and you're looking at this view is from the bottom of the vehicle looking at where the Captivated nuts come out. And this is going to show you several different issues that we run into with these. And what I'm going to show you first is these things are exposed to the weather. They get rusty. People don't tighten them down enough so that moisture gets in the threads. They don't use never sees on them, which I always recommend on these. And so you have problems with these regularly. And that's why when they use them, they normally show you to use these special, or the bolts that come on them are these special almost self-tapping heads, because they clean out the threads as they get put in anytime you take it off. So what I'm going to show you is three different issues that we run into. The first issue is missing nut. What happens is this is the nut that goes up inside here, in there, and the sheet metal piece that captivates that nut has stretched out. And that's usually because the nut gets rusty, and when you try to take it out or put it in, it spins. It opens that up, and the nut comes out. This is a pretty simple fix. You can put this back in here, and you can crimp that piece or bang that piece back up in place, and that'll put that nut back in where it needs to be. And I'll show you that real simply with a pair of channel locks that go up inside here, and you can pinch it in there. Or you can just use pliers. They come up inside here, and you can crimp that on there. You got to get that in place and held in there. What I do is I generally will put it in place, make sure it's in correctly, put it in place, and then put a bolt in it to hold it so that it's in place and that the bottom is squared off. And at that point, I go in there and crimp this down. And now that bolt is back in, that nut is back in place. I can take the bolt out and we're set. The next thing we run into is it spins and it takes off the Captivated nut completely, and of course that's generally thrown away. So on these, what I did is I found a company that sells the Captivated nuts, and I have these. They're slightly different. The hole in here measures a 1/2 inch. And the problem with that is when this gets put in place, it's held off away from it because of this piece that's meant to center on the hole. So that center on the hole, this is 524 thousandths, which is 24 thousandths oversized for fitting in that hole. So I drill that hole out to 9/16, and then I put the piece in there. And what I do is I stitch weld it, or just tack weld it firmly in place on these edges of the of metal in there, and then that is fixed permanently, and you're all set. The next thing that I'm going to show you is the one that's located up here, which I believe you can see the hole right there, but that is part of the Captivated nut that is still attached by the spot weld. Also, when whoever took it out of there put a wrench on it really hard, they bent it around, banged it around, and got that so it's a mess. So what I have to do now is I have to get in, cut that spot weld out of there, which is in a very awkward position up underneath there. I'm probably going to just use an air chisel and cut it out. And then I'm going to hammer and dolly and flatten that all out. And then I will use a complete one of these the way they come in and drill that hole out to the right size, put that in there and tack weld it in place, and that's how we do it. Now, just as a side note, I want to explain to you that that one thing that's smart to do when you're doing these is, before you even start, get yourself a clean out tap that's a 5/16 18, and then run that clean out tap through all of your threaded nuts that you've got in there from the inside of the cab. Run it out, and then that cleans up all your threads, and then use never sees on them, and you won't have this problem again. And I hope that was helpful to some people, because you have a problem. If you want to know where you can get these, just get in touch with me and send me a message or whatever, and I will tell you where you can get them. I bought a big bag of them, so I've got extras too. They cost about $3 a piece, so, and plus postage. But they really save you a lot of headaches when you're trying to hold that rattly top down and it's not in the right position. Okay, hope that helps.